Okay, and we're going for it. We're recording.
So it's just audio, is it, or was it video as well? Sorry.
Just audio. So I should have told you that earlier. I hope you didn't spend too much time on your parents.
No, I didn't.
Okay. No, I didn't. You look good, by the way. I'm just, I'm hoping that I didn't waste your time. I'm pretty much in the camp of audio only. I was talking with Mike about this the other day, actually. The reason I wanted to start doing a podcast was because I enjoy podcasts a lot. I came to them, I was just thinking about it, about 7.5 years ago now. And it was a real pivotal point in my life to find podcasting, because I had always liked talk radio, and I've gotten into this before, but Alan Watts, his talks and his lectures back in the day always really connected with me. And I'm just starting to realize now I actually am an auditory learner. I really like audio.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
And being so busy, having 5 kids, working a lot, I don't really have the chance to sit down and look at a screen, but I can always have my headphones in, or I can always, while driving, listen to stuff. So that's the spirit of this, is it's more audio. This is for someone to listen to on their commute, doing the dishes, working out,
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's my little take, at least for now. Unless somebody talks me into doing video, then maybe I'll change my mind. So let me start with this before I forget. Welcome to Dream Talking, Rebekah.
Thank you.
And Rebekah Moore, right? Is that right?
Maroon,
my bad.
Yeah,
I knew I was going to mess that up. Rebekah Maroon, welcome. I'll start with this. I was recommended you by Sharon, who is a great friend of the podcast. She's been on probably 3, maybe 4 times.
Okay.
And she sent me one of your videos, and one of your songs, which I really enjoyed, and kept bugging me. So this is kudos to her for checking back in. Like, hey, you should get her on the podcast. And I'm very busy with the kids and a lot of work and stuff. And I sent her a text back, hey, if you can talk her into it, then I will make it happen. And she sent out the email.
Yeah.
And we made it happen. So thank you for coming.
Well, thanks to Sharon for pushing you and me into doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, she was the motivating force for both of us, which is cool. And she, of course, has I just talked with her over the phone yesterday. She has lots of praise and good things to say about you. And one of the things she said, which caught me by surprise, and then when I was listening to you again, I was hearing with new ears. She said that you kind of remind her of me, or I kind of remind her of you, which is cool. Right. Yeah, and then which I go back and listen to, and I go, oh, okay, I can hear it. So I don't know, we maybe tap into similar vibrations, or you use the word resonance a lot, which I really appreciate. And I'm just doing this all the time. I talk too damn much. So let's get you talking a little bit. What I'd like to do for the podcast is start with this question. Seems to be pretty fruitful. Is can you remember? Tell me a story of the first time you remember kind of a hint of there's something more going on here than the business as usual that school or parents or whoever kind of tell us.
I'm not sure if I can say any particular point. I remember being really young, so maybe around, I was living in Swansea at the time, so maybe around 4, 5. Just this feeling like a like a large boundlessness, this large looking, you could describe it as like a magicalness looking. I remember having that sort of feeling at a young age. But yeah, there was no language or words or thoughts around that. There was just this mystical, magical feeling. Yeah. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm sorry, where'd you say you grew up?
I was born in Swansea. Yeah, it's in the UK. It's in South Wales. So it's like South Wales. Um, so yeah, I was brought up there and moved to England later on when I was about 9, 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
This just hit me. This is our first international podcast, by the way. You're in
Oh, really?
England right now. Where
Yeah.
what part of England are you at right now?
I live in Nottingham. It's the middle of England, right in the middle, East Midlands kind of.
Not
So,
Nottingham,
Nottingham.
like
Yeah, Robin
Sheriff of
Hood.
Nottingham?
Yeah, everyone says that. Robin Hood is the main attraction to Nottingham.
Yeah. Well, I the reason it sparks up for me is my stepson. That was his favorite movie, so I've seen the Disney version of
Okay.
oh my God, how am I blanking? I've seen it 100 times. Robin Hood. I've seen the
Yeah,
Disney version of Robin Hood where he's the fox at least 50 times. It was
Oh
every
yeah,
night
I
for
remember.
it was every night for him to go to sleep. So
Yeah.
that sparked up for me. Okay, right on. Cool. Okay, so 4 or 5 years old, and a sense of the boundless, the boundlessness of this kind of. I had a similar thing when I was young, and one of my first teachers in the world of non-duality reported in his book of something along the lines of going, okay, well, if you get to the end of the universe, what's after that? Right?
Yeah.
It's a good little mind fuck of like there kind of it can be no end, right? Because
you can't conceptualize it like it's beyond that.
Yeah, and the wisdom of 4 or 5-year-old Rebekah is the wisdom has returned that it can't be conceptualized, it can't be put into words, it can't be put into a box that you can share, right? But we can maybe kind of. But you seem to do a really good job of pointing to it.
Okay. Yeah, you can't really talk about it really. I mean, obviously talking about it happens, but you can never actually describe it or
Another thing I noticed in both your SOT songs, and then I watched your interview on Can I Be Frank?
Oh yeah.
Yesterday. And a theme that I picked up that I really enjoyed is you say this a lot. You can't talk about this. And that was sort of if I had to put one anchor in that messaging, it was this, and I love anyone that keeps it simple.
Yeah. I've got quite a simple mind, I think, as well. So I can't complicate it too much.
Yeah, which is a gift. I think I got a pretty simple mind over here too. Thank God. Right on. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna. Another thing I shared with Sharon yesterday is there's a quality of your sharing that the feeling is like a magnetic pull into the moment. That any kind of a pointing towards a story, past, future, time, you seem to, whether this is conscious or not, again and again, pull it, pull it back into this moment, which can be really helpful to listen to somebody doing that. Yeah, or nobody doing that, really.
Yeah. I'm not really teaching anything. I'm just kind of expressing this beauty, this love, and it's not really a teaching that I am passing on or trying to teach. It's just an expression, really. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you expressing it. Okay, so after saying that, you just pulled me right back into the moment. I'm gonna get back onto the story. So okay, we're 4 or 5 years old. We had a hint of the boundless, we'll call it for now. And I'm gonna guess if you're anything like myself or many other people, puberty came along, adolescence came along, and that boundlessness maybe seemed to disappear or become lost. Was that sort of your experience, or?
I think it was more like this story of me began, this story, and it became stronger, you could say, and it was more like that was more the center stage, let's say, or that was more not more important, but it was more veiling what was free, if you like, you know. So
Okay.
And, so therefore there was more constriction, more suffering, more that's probably the best way to say it. Just more constriction, more suffering. Yeah,
I think it's a great way to say it. The story does a good job of selling you on that it's primary, right? That it's the only show in town. You know, the identification as Rebekah or as Nick or as Mike, and it's, my experience can be pretty convincing for a long time.
But it isn't like it isn't like it was like convincing me, or like it was trying to trick me, or trying to. It was much more like that was the way it was playing and appearing. That was appearing, this story of someone. Like it wasn't like it was like, like playing a game, or like I was more focused on that. It was just that was all there was. This identification was playing. Like it was, like it was just playing.
Yeah, right on. Okay. So was there a second seeming moment of maybe that story getting revealed for what it was a little later on in life?
Well, that wasn't actually the first. It was just, it wasn't a glimpse. It was more that was the way it was. There was just this alive looking that was happening. It wasn't like a glimpse of it. It was, that was the way it was until it stopped being like that. So that really wasn't a first glimpse or anything like that. And then just this story of someone began, and lots of suffering, lots of things happen, as it does, you know, growing up. Things happen at home, at school, and all these things seeming to like add more onto this story of what happened to me, and I'm going through this, and this was happening, and just seemed to strengthen that story, like a journey in time of me growing. It's just a suffering story, really. There's nothing more to say. It's a suffering story. As it claims life's happening, it gets more and more intense, more and more painful. Living as that reality, as that dream.
I like that you're again, that magnetic pull back into the moment of,
right. So and then from that there was a strong desire to go home. I call it going home. This strong desire, like I want to be free of this. I want to find this place of rest or of peace or God. And so that became a driving force, let's say, to try and find this peace, this freedom from this intense suffering of this person, of being someone. So then obviously therapy was looked into, and then the spiritual path became more and more, let's say, in my life. Books about, meditation and Buddhism and chakras and healing and auras and angels and realms and seeing things, and it's like wow. It became exciting to live again, to like,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
this what can I get to, what can I have, what can I attain, what can I be, you know.
Yeah.
This whole new lease of life came in, this prospect of going home, and that was really fun and enjoyable to discover those types of things.
Yeah.
That was so different to living a normal life of, you know, just like going to school or going to work, and it was a different avenue. But then that became suffering as well, because it was still about me becoming something else, me being home, me getting it, me arriving. So yeah.
God. Beautiful, beautiful. I think if we can cut that clip, there's Seeking in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, a perfect illustration. Yeah, and the similar story over here of yes. I have a bit of a strange story. You can listen back to past podcasts if you're really into it. But I was born in a world where I was told there was angels and energy and psychic and chakras and auras. And
Okay.
my rebellion was, no, that's all bullshit. All that stuff is made up, and I'm a scientific materialist, atheist. You know, this is at age 18, 19. You know, and then over many, so that was a pretty hardcore period of suffering of, well, it's all bullshit, and I have no home, I have nowhere to stand. And it's funny now, from where I seemingly stand, those things are still true, but they just, the meaning I'm giving them is a whole lot different than during that time. And you said therapy. I found after going through many, found a very good therapist that spoke to me. And on like our fourth or fifth meeting, out of nowhere, he brought up Kundalini, which I'm sure you've heard of. And as he was explaining Kundalini, it was that feeling of, you're reporting exactly this force that has been in my life that I never had a word for. And I'd always just thought it was like anxiety or like, or just, that was the label I put on it, is I'm fucking crazy and I have these panic attacks, or I have these whatever. And then he opened a new world to me, and there was a lot of resistance at that time, because I was like, no, it's, if I really do believe in the science, the materialistic is, there's only this and there's nothing else, then this has got to be all something I'm making up in my head, which that's true also. We are, in a way, mind is dreaming this, is making it up in his head. And but once I more and more entertained it, it was that sense again of, like you're saying, like you're a kid again, like it's life is magic again. There's so much more than the baseline, you know, CNN reality. There's something else. And then similar to your reporting, that is also seeking, though there's a belief that that's going to end up somewhere, that you're going to get in this moment plus something special. Plus enlightenment, plus, you know, the subtle body or the energy body is going to be like, you know, super bodybuilder status.
Totally. I think it felt, for me, it felt so uncomfortable, like being here, that I needed some hope of something else, better, higher, spiritual, because it was so painful. This was so painful. So yeah, it's always this kind of trying to escape what is, basically escape the emotions, escape the experiences. So the whole idea of evolving is about escaping this.
So first mention, I do it every podcast, the most profound teacher I've come across in my journey has been Paul Heterman. I sent him in the email.
I've heard of him.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So before I forget, I know it's late where you're at. Right after this, we're going to join a satsang with them. You're welcome. I don't know how late you normally stay up.
Oh.
You're welcome to join that too. I'm going to invite you. But you sparked one of the many Paul Hetermanisms in my mind of self trying to get out of self, or really that all seeking, another way of saying it, is trying to actually get out of the moment, which is impossible, but we sit here and we go, even a spiritual seeming of wanting to get into the moment is a concession that you believe you're not already here. You can't be anywhere but here. And for me, that was sort of the end of seeking, or at least an end in the belief of it. Okay. And very similar to your messaging, we're magnetically pulled right back to the moment where we've always been, but there's a whole lot less suffering playing out.
Yeah.
And I can't get enough of, I have this dad instinct in me, or this something of being so happy to see it in other people. People can't have it, but just seeing it play out, and it just makes me so damn happy. And that's what I love to share,
Sorry, you mean like seeing people talking about it, or?
Yeah, and not even talking about it, like just seeing people travel lighter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which that's a Paulism big time, is traveling lighter. And that's a funny thing is, I was just thinking the other day that there's so many people in my life, my family, my kids, extended family, friends, coworkers, that the biggest influence in my life has been this message, these pointings, but they don't know that. All they know is that I'm a little bit more patient and pleasant to be around, and for most of them. Not everybody would report that, but, and so in that sense, it kind of doesn't matter, like this happens to speak to this conditioning or whatever, but in the end, no one else has to get it. That's an early stage for myself, was, I got to share this with everyone because it did this for me. So once, me seemingly, then it's going to do it for all of them, and it isn't necessarily, and that's okay. And they can find their way home where they've always been, their own way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And we're right back here. And one of the experiences of, particularly when I've listened to your satsang, is it is very different from Paul's, in that you allow space, and it's a very interesting experience for me. Okay. You'll say a profound truth, and then I get to look and see how it plays out over here.
Yeah. That's not intentional at all. Not intentional.
Well, I got a question. Was it intentional? Because I really loved your video introduction on your YouTube channel, where the light's sparkling on the water, and it's a good number of seconds before any sound starts. So like I'm checking to see if my sound is okay, and then I realized, that's how it starts.
We start with silence.
It was beautiful. Yeah. It was beautiful, but I was wondering, I assume that was intentional, right?
I don't think so. Think so.
You don't even remember, right? Okay.
I can't remember what it was about, but I don't think it was.
It's really funny. It's really funny. Like, is there any sound?
Yeah.
So I loved it. Thank you.
Yeah.
The first big lesson is the silence. Yeah. Yeah. And then we do podcasts trying to talk about the silence.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't really have any information or anything. It's just kind of
The laughter says it all. Yeah, it reminds me too of, this is something I've shared with Sharon and with Mike. A mantra that I use is there's work being done on other levels. And in a way, the mind always wants the work to be done on the level of language. Like, give me some language, or let me speak some language that will, and that's just one dimension. There's so many other dimensions of things that are working on us, you know, working on what we are. And there's a lot of healing in that.
Yeah, well, the whole of life is doing that, really. It's not really a teacher or a book, or it's life happening is doing the work, let's say. So it's not as if, you know, you need anything else. Life is that, and it can appear as a teacher, as a speaker, or as anything else, you know. It can, all things.
Yeah, it's cool. I think I've heard you say you don't consider yourself a teacher, which...
Yeah, I don't really know. I won't say I'm a teacher. No, I won't say I'm a teacher. No, I tend to say speaker because they're speaking, but I don't. Yeah, it's just
Because
they're speaking. All right, cool. So, just for the sake of, we'll try and get back into the story. Can you share, maybe, were there any teachers, speakings going on early on that seemed to speak to you? I got a hint. I'm gonna throw this out there. I get a sense of Tony Parson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There were many teachers, really, many speakers that I listened to and was like, wow, you know, really resonated with and shocked and loved, and lots of different speakers, really. And I think that they all bring something different. They all have a different angle or a different way of speaking that, you know, highlights something that may not have been heard, or so I appreciate all the different teachers and books and things that happened, you know. Everything that happens, it is the teaching, really. I mean, all of it, it's beautiful. My Mac broke down this morning, and that was a lovely, like, teaching. It was like, oh my god, my Mac, I can't do my streams anymore. It's like it's amazing, you know. So it's all of it is, all of it.
So is your Mac working again? Is that how you got it?
No, it's gone. I think it's gone.
Oh no, rest in peace, Mac.
Yeah, my son said that. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. It made me laugh.
You served your purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
Good job, Mac. Yeah, right on. Well, we're glad you got into the streaming dimension, into the Zoom dimension somehow, so we could share this. Right on. So, okay, this is just, I'm going to get into personal stuff. And again, this is yours. If you want to take it out, we can. You have some kids, which is, I always love talking to parents. I'll share something with you. So early on, when I first started hearing non-duality, I hit a bunch of teachers, went through a bunch of teachers before hitting Paul, and Adi Ashanti, Fred Davis, Muji. There's a bunch of other ones, but those are what come to mind. And I had told myself this story that, oh, well, to wake up, you can't have kids, because I didn't see any of them having kids.
Okay.
Or being parents or whatever. So that was a requirement I had set up for myself, that, oh, well, maybe, okay, my youngest is, 2. So in 16 years, once she's out of the house, then I can wake up. Then I can find enlightenment, And that was something I think I brought up to Paul early on. He just laughed at it, and so I don't know. That was something that seemingly was heavy for a little period of time and got let go of. So
I think that is actually taught somewhere. I think it's somewhere in India it's taught that women can't really wake up because they have the kids and they have to be like the word a home person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've heard that as well. So it's not surprising that you thought that, because it's a common kind of misconception, I should say, that yeah, there are certain conditions on this that you can't if you're this, or if you have that, or if you're whatever. So yeah.
And then a cool example is back to Adyashanti. His teacher, I can't think of her name. I think she had like 7 or 8 kids or something.
Okay.
Yeah, his first teacher, and this is something that Barbara and Roman shared with me. That she said that she used to meditate walking from one room to another.
Yeah.
You know, and when they said that, it triggered for me that I sort of unconsciously do that too. That the one that always hits me reliably, I don't plan on this, it's unconscious, is when I take the garbage outside.
a few minutes of rest. Noise. Yeah. Escape. Yeah.
Yes. There's something about the stark contrast of all the noise inside.
Yeah. Oh dear, it's the little things, isn't it? The little things.
Bit. Yes. The little vacations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, okay, so I'm interested, if you don't mind sharing. You have 2 kids, is that right?
Yeah. I have an 8-year-old boy and a nearly 7-year-old girl.
Oh, right on. Cool. Yeah. I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and then 3 stepkids that are 13, 16, and 18, about to go to college. So we got a nice spread in the household.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and getting back to everything being a teacher, they all have so much to teach and share where they're at, you know. And this is probably a cliche, but they keep you honest, you know.
Yeah.
You can leave listening to your audiobook or your song on, the drive home and be like, that's it, I'm enlightened. I'm going to be like this forever. I've got to figure it out. And then within 3 minutes, what are you doing? You're just losing it. And, it's a fun little, it keeps you honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. You said that a misconception that women that have kids can't wake up. I guess maybe I've heard that. I don't know. That's I think that conception alone is very informative. That could be a good misconception to question, because what is it in having a responsibility like children makes you believe that you can't?
Yeah, I think it was more based upon, I'm not sure, but I think it was to do with like in certain parts of India, the men would go off if they were going to commit to this spiritual path. They would go off and they would, I don't know, follow a guru or meditate or whatever they were doing. And so if you're a woman, you couldn't. You were a householder, you couldn't do that. So it's based upon that, I think. Yeah. So.
Yeah, just as you said that, it triggered for me the idea of back to the seeker. There's, I think, maybe a belief that you gotta really wear that seeker out.
Yeah, do everything possible.
Yeah, you gotta send them on a big heroic journey to find gurus and go to India, or if you're already in India, go to all the holy places and
well, I think in a way that happens anyway. In a way, it does try every single avenue it possibly can. It will always try and grasp this for me. So it's gonna do that. It's just a part of the way it is.
Yeah, maybe the more modern version, instead of going off to sites in India, it's going to videos in YouTube.
Yeah.
I've said before, I spent years thinking that the truth was just in the next video. If I could just find the right video, you know, it's insane looking back on.
Or in the next thought, or the next idea, or the next or the next high feeling, or the next moment of bliss, or because it's such a deep belief that this is going to be an experience, be an object, a thing. So we're trying to grasp what experiences to be it. Is this it? Is this understanding it? Is this concept it? Is this feeling of happiness and openness it? And this is like, again and again, it's like repeatedly not it. It disappears. It can't be any particular thing. It can't be anything.
It's only nothing. No thing.
It can't even be nothing. It can't be anything. It can't even be nothing. That becomes another idea, another, you know.
That's our last podcast. We were talking. Have you ever heard any of? He's a little obscure. Huang Po, Zen philosopher. Okay, maybe after this I'll email you some stuff. So he's very much. You just did a very Huang Po thing. Of Huang Po will say, it's not anything, but it's also not anything.
Yeah.
It's also not anything. he's giving you nowhere to stand. To you cannot create an object to make it. You know, and that's the dilemma of using words. Is you try to use a word and believe the word, but it's only ever going to point to.
Yeah.
It's only ever going to point. It's in the silence. In the last. Magnetic pull back to the moment. What's coming up for me is I want to, I know you don't consider yourself a teacher, but I want to thank you for that magnetic pull back into the moment.
All right. Yeah.
So, for the sake of the podcast, how's the quarantine been for you over there?
I'm actually quite enjoying it. Like, I homeschool my children, so I'm quite active. Like, not really, but I do activities with them. Go climbing. We go to different meetups and things like that with parents. So, not having that to think about or organise is quite nice. Just to just be at home and just hang out at home. So I'm really, I'm kind of enjoying it, really.
Yeah, I know, and I say the same thing, and I always feel a little bit guilty, but my wife and I kind of whisper it to each other, like, I know you can't say this, but I like life now more. You know, for us, I understand there's a lot of people, totally, I know you get it. A lot of people are suffering, and it's unfortunate, but in a lot of ways, it's forced you to simplify.
Yeah.
Which,
It's really beautiful in a way. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
You said you homeschool your children.
Yeah, homeschool.
Okay, that's interesting for me because I was homeschooled all the way until until 9th grade. So my first 8 years of school.
8 years, okay.
I guess plus kindergarten, make it 9. I always, looking back, you can tell two stories. You can see all the things that were bad about it or all the things that were great about it. And more, the things that were great about it are revealing itself to me.
Oh, really? Yeah. You think fondly of it? Mostly fondly?
Yeah, now I do. From where I stand now, I do.
Right. But you didn't before or something? You didn't used to think that way?
Yeah, I used to blame it for. I'm glad to hear, like you said, you're doing meetups. That you said climbing. Do your kids?
We do. Yeah, we go climbing. We do different activities. We go to different things that you can take part in. Archery and
Nice. Yes.
all different stuff, really. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's maybe if I'm gonna stand in the place of looking at the bad or the resentments, is I was always looking for that. And I had to like damn near sneak out of the house to join a baseball league because my parents didn't really encourage that. But I did find a way to get out and do what I wanted to do, and it was baseball and martial arts when I was really young, and interacting with kids, and probably 99% of them were in public school, and so I got a hint of life outside of the homeschooling.
I see.
Realm. Yeah.
So were you like mostly at home, and like you wasn't going to events and things like that? Maybe it's different back then as well. There's a lot more available now as well compared to say 20, 30 years ago. So yeah.
And just as you said that, it's reminding me of the situation I'm at now with my kids. Is there are so many cool gifts of having them home right now. And there is a sort of insanity of sending your kids away, to a locked facility, and then if you put them in after school, you don't pick them up until 5 or 6 at night. It is, it's strangers raising your children, which that is we're humans, we're made for a community, obviously, but that ingredient of the parents is so huge. And it is maybe it definitely is under emphasized, at least in this culture,
Yeah, and they're so vulnerable as well at that age. They're still developing, so it's such a mad thing to do, to put a developing, vulnerable, human into this environment where with 30 strangers in a classroom, and it's just such a intense, I think, for a child to go through that. It's quite an intense experience. I think that can really affect them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just, as you were saying that, when I lean more into the seeing my homeschooling as a positive thing, is being at that vulnerable age and not getting thrown to the wolves in a certain way.
Yeah. What a blessing. Yeah. But at the same time, it's obviously everyone can't do that, but obviously either way it's perfect, whether you're at school or not at school, it's perfect. And whatever happens to you will happen to you either way. So it's not really like that's the only way of doing, child rearing, or that's the best way. It's just another way, alternative way that I prefer. I lean more towards that rather than the schooling system. But it's totally okay either way. Yeah.
It's so funny. Okay, so here I'm going to pin this as a moment. Sharon saying that she sees similarities in us. I see you doing what I do all the time, of like to whoever's listening, like, don't worry, don't stress yourself out. Like, oh, now I got to bring homeschool.
Yeah. It's totally. It has no significance upon this message at all. It's not really like you have to do this to, like, not ruining your children, sort of thing. You're not going to like ruin, Yeah.
Yeah, I say that again and again. A good mantra for me is, you're not their whole world, and so like you're not that important. Like something, the identification as yourself as a parent. You really believe that you're going to do everything that's going to either fuck them up or is going to get them right. That's a huge burden to carry.
Yeah, totally. To be a parent, yeah.
Yeah.
That will
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. It is a big fuck up. To try and like to be the one in charge of life, basically. Yep. I'm in charge of life. I have to live my life, provide for me and others, and it's such a big burden, as you were saying. It's such a big thing to be someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of I get it from Paul, who I think gets it more from AA. It's playing God. It's believing, you know, that I'm playing God in the development of my kids, and it's too damn much.
What's beautiful though as well is that even that's not being done by someone. That's just how this seems to play out.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
Yes.
You can't even claim to be playing God. You can't even claim that position either. It's not someone doing it.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
It is. Yeah. It's relieving.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. I don't know what the point of this podcast, not this one, but just dream talking in general. I don't know what the point of it is yet.
Yeah.
But sometimes the definition comes in of like just a little reminder of that, like you're okay, you're already home.
Yeah.
And
this is totally free. It's just happening. Yeah. All of it. It's just happening. The thoughts, the feelings, the sitting, the seeing, the hearing, the moving. It's all just happening. It's such a simple message. It's really going back to the actual experience of what is, rather than this imagined idea of I'm doing, I'm sitting, I'm listening. This extra add-on. It's really simple. It's too simple for that mind. It's already in time. It's already after. It's already gone into.
Yeah. By the time somebody shows up to claim it, it's gone. Yep. Yeah. This is so fun. Again and again. This is something I noticed in your conversation on Can I Be Frank? And I was talking with Sharon about this. Is she said, I'll quote Sharon, that you remind her of Krishnamurti in a way, the messaging, which is pretty cool. In that when people go to interview or talk to Krishnamurti, they end up just sort of flabbergasted and it's like
right.
Yeah.
Which one's his? There's two Krishnamurtis, isn't there? Which one?
I didn't know there was two.
Yeah.
Is there not?
Yeah, there is two.
Yeah, there's one that's like more not rude, but it's more abrupt and more kind of what do you call it? Like just more real and more like kind of quite rude, a bit sort of like that. A different guy with grey hair. Yeah, I'm sure there's two different people. But
I didn't know there was two.
Maybe.
Yeah, because one is more well known and he just gets referred to as Krishnamurti, but there is.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'd have to ask Sharon, but I'll just say whichever one you feel better about, stick with that one.
The rude one. I like the rude
one. Yeah, that's funny. That's something that when I talk with certain friends, I'll say some stuff, and they'll be like, hey man, you got to give me a safe word here or something. Like you're slapping me into reality in a certain way, and okay, yes, I do need to, because again and again, like if you stand in a certain place to say, hey, all of your problems are imaginary, or you don't even exist, or when that's heard from the identification as I definitely am this person, I definitely am this parent, I am this, put whatever stamp you want on it, it can be very, the ego can become very threatened by that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that may manifest as being rude, right? We could take that as being rude, but actually it's rude to water down the real messaging of the real speaking of what's coming through. That's ultimately a greater disservice to edit or to it reminds me of Ramana. Paul brings him up a lot. Some of Ramana Maharshi's teachers came to him and said, hey, do you recommend that we teach? Because we really have this drive to share with other people. And I think Ramana said something along the lines of, well, yeah, you can teach, but I don't recommend it. Mm-hmm. And they go, well, why don't you recommend it? Well, because you'll have compassion for the person, for the ego and where it's at, and you'll water down the truth. You'll water down the message.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, again, if this podcast is anything, it's a offering of, no, you don't have to water it down. You're welcome to.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I feel like I have compassion. I feel. Yeah. I have compassion. I'm not sure I water it down because of that, but I definitely speak different to how I used to speak. I'm not as radical or as neo-Advaita as how I used to speak. So I have changed how I speak, but not because I've been trying to make it more palatable for people or more softer, but more because there's been more of a feeling to be more real and more natural and more ordinary. So rather than coming with this whole non-dual language of, being very non-dual in my language, it's felt more heartfelt to be more me, more myself, more natural, rather than being radical. I don't need to be radical. The message is radical itself. I don't need to speak radically or be like that. It's just it's me. It just need that, really. It's yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, the message is as radical as it gets. Yeah. You don't have to put on a show.
Yeah, I can just totally.
Yeah.
It feels more genuine just to speak normally and not do all that non-dual speak stuff. I mean, it feels more.
Yeah, I get a sense with some teachers or messages that it can become like a fundamental non-duality. Like there's fundamentalist Christians, there's fundamentalist Muslims. You can hit a point of like you're again so focused on using the right words, and I can find even my own speaking doing that, where you got to throw in a seemingly there, like you say.
Yeah.
And in the way that in Christianity, you get so by the book and so in the words that you're causing suffering for people, and you're excluding instead of including. And from everything I can see from Jesus, he was very radical. He came along and said, hey, all the old rules are basically wrong. I'm what I have on offer has almost nothing to do with any of that shit. And it's just funny to see the same drive. And we were talking about it, like non-duality is kind of one way to look at it in the culture. Is it's like the punk rock of spirituality. It's the counterculture take on spirituality, and that drive of fundamentalizing it, of getting back into the words, and you're not using the right words, or oh look, you like a lawyer going over the the language of non-duality is not the point. Again and again, and as you're sharing more from just coming from truth, and see what comes out. It's a greater service. I use the metaphor again and again, and I'm leaning into it. of I look at it kind of as jazz, in that I was listening to Coltrane and Miles Davis last night with my stepson, who's getting into music big time right now, piano. And he kept on saying like, oh, I want to play that. I want to go learn how to play that little riff or that little whatever.
Yeah.
And then he comes to me and he goes, how come it doesn't sound like when they play it? And I go, exactly. Like, you know, you're starting to get the point. You can go and speak the words of Jesus, speak the words of, you know, pick your king of non-duality, Eckhart Tolle or whatever, but it's the speaking in the moment, the hearing, that relationship, that truth. It's never going to be the object of the notes in the song or the words in the message or in the speaking. And we love your jazz, is what we're saying.
Okay. I get a gist of what you're saying. I get a gist of what you're saying.
Simplify.
Well, I think the point was, at least here, was freedom. It was about freedom. It was about, you know, it was about being free. And so, that's what I speak about, is this freedom. And that's it, really.
Yeah.
And it really isn't a mental understanding, conceptual thing.
Yeah. Once it's a concept, it's like you said, it's dead. It's gone.
Yeah.
The freedom only ever has been and only ever can be this.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is cool. This is like a SOT song before my SOT song. It really is. I feel free. Yeah, you Krishnamurti'd me. I can't. I can't. I'm flabbergasted. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me onto this podcast.
Yes. Thank you, Sharon, for hooking us up.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike, for letting us use your home, your internet. Thanks.
Wonderful to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. I hope we could stay in touch.
Yeah.
Maybe do it again sometime. So I don't do this enough because most of my podcasts are with just friends. They're not, you know, in the YouTube sphere. So I should give an opportunity if you want to, where people can find you. I'll say for sure on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's just at RebekahMaroon.com.
Okay.
So yeah.
And you do like weekly SOT songs?
I do weekly every Thursday evening, at 8:30. That's English UK time on YouTube, yeah. I do one-to-ones. I'm here. What can I say? Yeah. RebekahMaroon.com.
Okay. Well, go check her out, everybody. And thank you so much for sharing this time with us.
No problem.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.